So, guys, today marks a very important day in Canadian immigration because September 26th, 2024, ESDC is now refusing to process low wage LMIAs, and that particular historic announcement is going live today. It is extremely important because ESDC did not only make changes to the low wage LMIAs, they even affected the PR supporting the dual intent LMIAs as well. So, in this video today, we will be talking at length that what exactly was the change and what was the news all about and how is it going to affect the LMIAs, the important working in Canada program, the temporary foreign worker program, where people globally would come to Canada for work. So it is going through a lot of change. So guys, if you are interested in moving to Canada, you should be watching this video up until the end. My name is Sahil, and I'll see you on the other side. So, guys, welcome back once again. My name is Sahil, and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I practice here in Ontario. My office is here. If you have to get in touch with me, my number is on the screen, and the details are there in the description box. More than happy to speak with you. Before we proceed any further, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and bell icon because we talk a lot about Canadian immigration. And if you are an aspirant of moving to Canada, then this is a channel that you must be subscribed to all the time. So, guys, we are talking about the important change that was recently announced by ESDC. And the important announcement was basically that IRCC, so essentially ESDC, the department which is responsible to process LMIAs. Now, LMIA basically is a sort of a work sponsorship document, as you know, in layman understanding, which is required if you want to apply for a work permit for Canada. It is a prerequisite. Okay. Now, the employer that you get hired by must get this document from the department ESDC. So, this department here. Okay. Now, LMIA as a document. Now, Canada follows a wage level. Okay. Now, what Canada does is that every province, so we have 10 provinces and 3 territories, every province has a median wage related to an occupation. For example, um, admin assistant or office admins, say for example, would have dedicated wage, but every province has a median wage. So Ontario has approximately $29 and something, or $28.90, something like that. So every province has a dedicated median wage, and every job also has an average wage. Okay. If you want to do an LMIA, generally you would want to stay above the average wage, and if you're still below the provincial median wage, it is called a low wage LMIA. If you're above the provincial median wage, or the average, the median wage of hourly wage, then it's called a high wage LMIA. Each high wage or low wage has different set of requirements. For example, a low wage LMIA is kind of a more stricter requirement. For example, you would want to have um, say transportation requirements, housing requirements, and then other insurance related requirements, whereas a high wage LMIA is free from those requirements but has other requirements. For example, a transition plan and all of those things, right? So a low wage LMIA happens to be ballpark something in Ontario would be say $28 or lesser. um, and that happens to hold a larger chunk of applicants, right? So most of the jobs that you see here, people are earning so 23, $24, or in the lowest or the minimum wage in the province is now reaching $17 in some sense above that. So this particular LMIA or this particular change is extremely important because starting today, which is September 26, 2024, IRCC says that if your census metropolitan area, which I will just show you, has an unemployment rate of 6% or higher, then the low wage LMIA in that area will not be processed. That's the first biggest change. Second, they say that there was a cap. Now, in those areas where a low wage LMIAs can still be processed in those areas. Um, Earlier there was a 20% cap. Now that cap has been reduced to 10%. So which means if you have 10 people, out of those 10 only one can be a foreign worker. Now there are certain sectors which are exempt from this. So basically from the 10% cap, but they have a higher cap of 20%, and this was earlier higher than this. Okay, so this is now 20%. So for example, healthcare, construction, and all of that. The fourth biggest change is that now the low wage LMIs, the work permits for people who have low wage LMIs, despite the restrictions of cap and all of that, even if you qualify all of that, the maximum duration of employment will only be 1 year. Earlier it was 2 years, it is now going to be 1 year. So, in a nutshell, low wage LMIs have been bombarded with a lot of changes. They are now kept as a luxury only for health sectors and construction. That too they will get only if they are in a specific area, even if they in that census metropolitan area, and that too with a 20% cap and a 1 year employment duration. So technically for employers it is more of a hassle to do an LMIA, less of a convenience, right? Now, looking at what kind of areas are covered, these are the areas. St. John's, for example, has an unemployment rate of 7.2. Halifax has 6.1. The only few areas which are left is now Moncton. You have Quebec, and then couple of areas in Quebec. Then you have Belleville and Peterborough, and then here in Guelph, Ontario, which is nearby, then you have Thunder Bay, and then you have Saskatoon, Lethbridge, and Alberta, followed by Kelowna in British Columbia and Victoria. These are the only areas which have, possibility of a low wage LMIA with the caps and the 1 year duration of LMIA, right? So that's one part of the news. Another bigger bomb that was dropped by IRCC, not IRCC, basically ESDC, was that uh, earlier people thought only low wage LMIs were going to be affected. But I always, so since we do a lot of, low wage LMIs with employers, we've already made a shift to high wage now. Those employers are, the low wage LMIs are now affecting the dual intent LMIs also. Okay, now let me explain what is a dual intent LMI. There are essentially three kind of, for layman under, there are a lot of LMIs, but for understanding, there would be a high wage LMIA, a high wage LMIA, low wage LMIA, and then there would be a PR supporting LMIA. Okay, if somebody wants to give you a PR supporting LMIA and wants to do a work permit for you, then both of these are connected to create a dual intent LMIA. Okay, so for example, normal LMIA, PR supporting LMIA, and dual intent LMIA. Okay. Now, when you talk about a PR supporting LMIA, that means there is no work permit. Okay. It is only a 6 month valid work LMIA, which is good enough to give you 50 points in your express entry. Okay. But if the employer says that no, or the employee says that no, I need a longer work permit also, so the person would want to do a dual intent LMI, so that you can apply for 50 points and as well as get a work permit also. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of a dual intent LMI. Prior to this news that I just told you about the low wage LMIs, people were aware that okay, low wage LMIs are only considered not to be done, whereas dual intent is still okay, we'll continue to do dual intent. But ESDC dropped the bomb saying that even dual intent LMIs are not spared. As of September 26th, positions for which you are submitting a dual intent LMIA to support a TFW, require no longer exempt from the transition plan. This is in case you're doing a high wage LMIA. So this is the high wage, and for the cap on the proportion of low wage, again, as of September 26th, certain dual intent LMIAs will be subject to the 10% cap and also the the census metropolitan area requirement as well. So overall, the options of dual intent LMIA, if they are still below the provincial median wage, are again out of the window. Okay, so technically, if you are inside Canada on on your PGWP or any other status, and if you're looking for an LMIA from your employer, in addition to support with your express entry profile, then you only have you know two options, essentially, more also, but technically two options. It has to be high wage LMIA, GTS, or whatever, but has to be above the provincial median wage. For example, Ontario, it has to be $29 and above. If you talk about and please excuse my I'm not able to read it, but it's $28.30, something like that for Ontario. So I just give a ballpark that $28 and below is low wage, and $29 and above is high wage. So try to leave a gap of some cents here and there so that you don't fall into that bandwidth. So 28 and something is a big no. Either go 29 and above or go 28 and low, so that you know clear difference. Okay. So if you are in Canada on a PGWP looking forward to extending your stay, then you know that you either need a PR supporting LMIA only, proper PR supporting, then the the wages are wage and all is okay. But the problem is that it is only valid for 6 months. Okay. Otherwise, you try to go for a high wage LMIA if you want to do a dual intent LMIA, because most of the areas in Canada are falling within that census metropolitan area where IRCC or ESDC will refuse to process. Sir, guys, I know the news might not be that pleasing to everybody, but seems like Canada is forced to take such actions if they want to bring the temporary resident population under control. So far, these are the changes. We will continue to keep an eye on all of this, and we will continue to update you as in when we get more news. Guys, if you have anything to discuss with us, please feel free to schedule an appointment. I would be more than happy to speak with you. Once again, we wish you all the best, and we really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.